What is going on? Welcome back to the Roto Heat YouTube channel. We're doing our Wednesday redraft as always. The Fantasy Inferno, myself, Cody Woodman, your host as always, co-host Shane Barrett. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I started my new job this week, so just basically doing a bunch of product learning right now, and it's been really cool. Company's great, and I'm having fun. So, uh, good week. And then on the football side of things, my charity tournament, Polly's Playoff. The playoffs are kicking off this week with the rest of you guys. So, if you guys are in Polly's Playoff, come ask start and sit questions because I'm not in the playoffs. I sucked this year, so I can answer your questions.
There you go. There you go. You're not giving anything away. So, yeah, it's fantasy week one playoffs. This is what everybody's been working towards. I got three of, that's not true. I had four or five teams in the playoffs, but one had zero chance. There's not a chance that anything was going to happen there. The playoffs started in week 14, which is weird, but it's a 32 team league. Made the playoffs without a quarterback, same as I did last year.
Solid.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a really, really fun league. But when you have Trey Lance and Javonte Williams, it makes it a little more difficult. But I still made the playoffs, which is something to say, I think.
That's impressive if you ask me.
I think so too. I think I deserve a pat on the back for myself. So, my defense is awesome. I did a really good job building my IDP.
Solid.
Super young and really, really good. So that's been a huge help. But either way, yeah, we're going to be talking start and sit stuff, mostly questions. So if you do have questions, anyone that's in the chat there, go ahead and leave your questions and we'll answer them on the fly. We'll have some in between sort of, topics and things we're going to touch on. But if a question comes in, we're just going to fire it up and answer it kind of on the fly to get your answers as soon as possible. So go ahead and leave your comments in there. We'll get to it as soon as we see it, kind of a thing. Anything you wanted to touch on specifically, Shane? What's going on this week? It's been a kind of a wild week. This has been a wild year, really. So,
Dude, this year has just been so strange for fantasy football, I feel like. Um just in general, it's just been a weird year. We've talked about it kind of throughout. But I think the thing I want to talk about is the Dolphins. And we kind of chatted pre-show. They struggled against the Chargers, and I will give kudos to Brandon Staley. I think he called a great defensive game. And then they've got the Bills this week in Buffalo. Weather's supposed to be horrible. Was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and Tua is not good in cold weather. And it's supposed to be significantly colder this week than it has been in his previous cold games. So I'm very intrigued to see, and I've seen it on Twitter. It seems like Mike McDaniels has been figured out to this point in his coaching career and his offensive play calling career. How does he counter the counter?
mhm.
Because I think he's a good enough coach, and I think a lot of people do, for him to come up with the counter and figure that out. I want to see if he does it this week or if it takes him a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's got to run the ball.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about it I think it was like 3 or something like that. When you started 0-2, we were talking about Chase Edmonds, talking about Miami running the ball. And I was saying in the preseason, they couldn't run the ball. First few
Yep.
weeks of the season, they couldn't run the ball. And we're here, week 15 right now. They're looking like a playoff team, but they still can't run the ball. And the playoffs are not guaranteed for this team, right? They're staring down the barrel of a 3-game losing streak that
Mhm.
I think, we can both agree, and I think most people think that they're not going to go into Buffalo and get that win. So that's what I think that they have to do, is get back to running the ball a lot, or I shouldn't say get back to more. What I'm alluding to is his 49er days, back to that style of offense where you're hammering the
Yeah.
ball and then play action and opening things up for your ridiculously speedy wide receivers. And Tyreek is now banged up a little bit, so it's
I think he might have practiced in full today.
in full. Wow.
Don't quote me on that, but give me just a second.
I wouldn't doubt that he practiced limited. I'm sure he's going to play. I'm not worried about Tyreek missing time. It's
Yeah.
just, Waddle's kind of, I'm not going to say disappeared, but he's kind of phased out of the offense a little bit. And maybe that's partially that teams are picking up on some tendencies for McDaniels. I'm not really sure, but what I do know, and I was yelling this last week, you have to run the ball in the NFL. You absolutely
Mhm.
have to establish a running game. You have to. And they just aren't able to do it right now. And I think partially that the offensive line is to blame. Potentially, maybe the
He did practice as a full participant. Sorry to
wow.
interrupt you, but yeah, he did.
No, wow, that's I thought he would, limited or miss practice, but wow, they're I guess sending a message that he's going to play or something like that. Um, so yeah, we'll see what and Ronnie, we're gonna get to your question right away here. Ronnie Daniels always in the chat, appreciate it, brother. But we're gonna get to your questions right away. So anyone in the chat, like I said, to kick off the show, if you have questions, put them in the chat right whenever you want, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. We're not gonna do our typical, we talk about whatever we're talking about and then get to the questions. We're just gonna answer questions on the fly. But let's finish the thought here on the Dolphins. Like I said, the playoffs are not guaranteed for this team. The AFC is extremely tight, and they just lost a potential tiebreaker to the Chargers, right?
Yep.
So that's a tough loss, and 3 straight games on the road. Luckily, they didn't go back to Miami between the San Francisco and LA Chargers game. They stayed out west, which maybe was a hindrance, maybe not. Hard to say. I would rather do that than go all the way back to Miami and go all the way back to LA. But then they're going back to Miami, back up to Buffalo, cold weather. I don't know. I don't know. They got to run the ball.
Especially in the cold. Like this week, it's gonna be like ridiculously cold. You've got to run the ball. Um, and the funny thing to me, I was thinking about it the past 2 or 3 years. Really, the Dolphins have kind of been like a screaming destination for a running back in the draft,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Yeah.
just keep passing it up, and I don't understand. I don't understand
That's
why.
who I had Najee taking in my mock
Yeah.
draft that year. One
Well,
one of
yeah.
their
I
one of
mean,
their 2 first-round picks.
Najee, Etienne, Dobbins, Swift, Alaire, Taylor, like all like since the 2020 draft, there have been plenty of running backs that they could have drafted. They had
Yeah.
ample opportunity to, and they passed on them all, and I don't get it.
They could really be in a good spot to get Bijan Robinson though this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I Todd McShay had him going fifth overall if the Eagles had the fifth pick, and that just it doesn't make sense to me.
Zeke went fourth.
I know, but
Barkley went second.
that was in 2016, though, and Barkley was what, 20 was he 2017? Is
I think
that right?
something like that. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
NFL, I know that's only 4 or
19
5
maybe.
years ago. Well, no, shit, now it's 6 years ago for Zeke. The NFL's changed. Like running backs don't go that early anymore. I personally would be shocked if he goes that early. Not that he's not talented enough. Like I think the talent easily top 5 pick, but I just think the NFL has shifted away from doing that.
I mean, with what I was saying last week, I think we could maybe see it shift back, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But let's get to this question first. We got Ronnie Daniel. Appreciate the question as always. Good evening, gents. Aaron Rodgers or Brock Purdy? That's actually pretty interesting, which is kind of weird that it's interesting. It's really going to depend on A Rod's thumb. Is it kind of fully back to health? Is he ready to go? Plays Monday night, which hurts. I really don't love that he plays Monday night.
And Purdy plays Thursday, doesn't he?
Thursday, yeah. So that's really tough. But in all honesty, I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy if he's playing. I'm just too concerned about the thumb for Aaron Rodgers. They've gotten back to the running game, which I extremely appreciate, and that's the way for them to win football games. So they've gotten back to that, and it's done pretty well. And Brock Purdy versus Seattle, he played really well last game. They don't put really much of any pressure on him. It's the same offense.
Yeah.
There's no issues running the offense, right? So, what are your thoughts? I'm leaning Brock Purdy, but I can be talked out of it.
Man, I just looked at Purdy, and now I'm looking on Sleeper, so it's specific to this league's scoring settings. But in 2 games, he scored 18.3 points and 25.7.
Mm-hmm.
One of those was against Miami. Miami's not the greatest defense, but then the other one was against Tampa Bay, and they're roughly middle of the pack when it comes to fantasy defense. And he actually scored more against Tampa.
He lit them up in that game.
Man, it's just like here's the problem, Cody, is I have my Packers fandom bias from being raised a Packers fan. So like it's just ingrained in me. I'm gonna go Purdy though. I think it just makes too much sense
There you
with
go.
with the matchup and the way he's been playing. Um, and I have not been a fan of Kyle Shanahan. I will give him credit where credit is due though here with Purdy and say that he's done a phenomenal job.
Well, it's his system.
Yeah.
Like that system is it doesn't matter who you are running back, and clearly a little bit at least, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. You know, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, these
Yeah.
guys had success in this offense, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, the list goes on. Anyone that comes to this offense, whether you're running back, quarterback, they have success.
Yeah.
So and does it concern me that Debo's not going to be playing? A little bit, but I'm really not that concerned. There's more than enough weapons to go around. You know, CMC in the passing game, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Jennings has been pretty solid, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Danny Gray can do. Danny Gray I was a big fan of Danny Gray out of the
Is
draft
he
last year,
playing?
second round pick. He should be playing. I don't know why he wouldn't be.
Ooh, okay.
He's been active a few times throughout the season. He hasn't
Okay.
really played much.
Yeah.
But if he gets a little more run, I'm excited to see what happens here. So, yeah, I think we're both going Brock Purdy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You bet, Ronnie. Appreciate it. Eduardo Jacobo. We're gonna get to your question in a second. Daniel Keenan's new to the show, so I want to give him a quick answer to his question here. Is Alex Pierce a sneaky start this week?
Who do they have?
I like Alec Pierce quite a bit, and he's been relatively sneaky good. Where the heck are they? Who do the Colts play this week?
That's what I'm trying to figure.
Minnesota. Yeah,
Ooh,
I
yeah.
like him.
I
I
like
like
that a
him.
lot, actually.
I'm worried. I'm always going to be a little bit worried about Matt Ryan's health, but they did get the ball out of his hands extremely quickly against the Cowboys. I was very concerned for his safety in that one.
Yeah.
But even with Minnesota, like they got some guys that can get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith,
Zadarius Smith. Yep.
Daniil Hunter. They got some guys that can get after the quarterback. So as long as they get the ball out of his hands, I like him. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, I like Alec Pierce. He's kind of fallen off for me. I had him, I think, in my work league, and ended up having to bench him just because he wasn't producing enough. But I think this week against Minnesota, I think he's worth it as a flex option. I don't see his ceiling being super, super high, but you could stick him in there as a flex, I think, pretty easily. If you'll go one comment down from Daniel, he's got who his options are.
Yeah, I was going to do that in a second. Yeah, I like him as a ceiling play. I like Alec Pierce as a ceiling play.
Really?
Like certainly not as a floor, but he against Minnesota, he could go out and throw up 20 points. He had that 11 catch, like 100-yard game not
Yeah.
too long ago. With that, and he falls into the end zone, you're pushing 30 points, right? So, I think he's a ceiling play in the right matchup, and this is a great matchup. No weather issues, and that's something I'll touch on in a second. Here's some other stuff I want to talk about, and that's just a whole point. Another point really is in the fantasy playoffs and in DFS and stuff like that. I'm always looking for indoor games, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Miami, or in a
LA.
dome, LA, right? Or
Even
in
though
a
I think they're
dome.
technically a dome.
They are, yeah. So even Vegas is a dome, right? So,
Yeah.
but where they're going to play, and I'm not worried about weather, coming up. So that's another point. But my options are so bad: Davis, Chark, Sutton, playing McLaurin for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, you're not starting two wide receivers on the same team. I'm certainly not doing that in the playoffs. But DJ Chark, man, DJ Chark.
Yeah.
I know that's a tough matchup,
but again, he's not going to be getting that number one. Who do they have? I should
Who?
know this. They've got the Jets.
Yeah.
He's not getting the Sauce Gardner treatment as far as I would think. I
Well,
would
Sauce
wouldn't you
doesn't
think?
move. Sauce doesn't
Okay.
move around. So,
Okay.
but they have DJ Reed, they have Sauce Gardner, they got Michael Carter the second. They got
Yeah.
a pretty good complement of corners that do a great job. They're really good against wide receivers. But, like we saw last week, and like I've been preaching for God knows how long, he's one play away. He's one play away from a 50-yard
Mhm.
touchdown, and that's all you need. And we saw it last week. We've seen it a few times throughout the year. So
I'd definitely start Chark.
I would probably start Chark over Pierce because they have this, in my opinion, they have the same type of a ceiling, but Chark has a much higher floor,
Yeah.
and man, I've been singing DJ Chark's praises for the last like 4 weeks. Maybe people are listening to me, maybe they're not, but go look at the stats. He's definitely been flex worthy at least. So in this one, yeah,
Where is that
Daniel, I'm
game?
I'm
Is it
looking
in
at Chark.
Detroit?
It's in New York, so as
Okay.
long as the weather's not crazy bad, I'm not sure what the weather looks like in New York, but if it's not super cold and super like snowing or something like that, I'm going with Chark, even though it's a bit of a bad matchup.
Yeah. The reason I asked that was because you and I've talked about the Goff Jekyll and Hyde performances with at home and away, so that could also likely potentially lower Chark's ceiling a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Um,
that's getting some notoriety too. Finally, after I've been saying that for weeks, so
so I I would still start Chark, but if you are convicted on going Pierce, Daniel, I have no problems with that.
or if you need the higher ceiling, because I think in this week, if he said a mix of rain or something like that, and for the weather, so if it's indoor outdoor plus the things we mentioned about the home and away splits for golf, there's a lot of factors in this. But if you need a higher ceiling play, I could definitely be talked into Alec Pierce. That's for sure. Like I would probably go with Alec Pierce if I need a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
I would. So, but higher floor, it's DJ Chark for me. I'm going to go back to this other question. Second question from
Eduardo.
Eduardo Jacobo. Hello, Dobbins or Kamara, and Kittle or Ingram. I also have Driscoll. Oh, because he's a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would take the chance on Driscoll throwing up a complete goose egg. Because he might play, he might not. It might be one of those Taysom Hill type things, So I don't know. And Taysom Hill has a higher floor than Jeff Driscoll. If you're playing him at tight end, I would be fine playing Taysom Hill at tight end, but I don't know about Jeff Driscoll. But what are your thoughts on the other two questions there?
This is hard on
I'm
the
definitely
running.
going Kittle over Evan Ingram, even though he blew up like that last week. It's a
I
game.
am too.
Yeah.
For that part of it, I think, especially with what we talked about with Purdy, like if with Debo being out, I think that boosts Kittle's stock. And
Mhm.
trust me, as someone who put in a prize pick on Kittle last week and missed it by 6 yards, I'm a little bitter with Kittle right now, so I'm going Kittle. But for the running backs, I think I'm going to go Dobbins, and I know you're not going to like that because of his injury, but they're playing Cleveland.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not the injury because clearly he showed he's good to
did
go
you
last
see that
week
one run though?
for Dobbins.
Yeah, the long run I think he had in
Yep.
the first quarter.
Yep.
Someone retweeted a video of it after it happened, and he looked like he had something wrong. Like it was just tight
Well,
something. It was
he should have been gone. He should have been gone.
yeah,
Like, healthy Dobbins takes that to the house
yeah,
100%.
100%.
So, yeah, maybe there's some things lingering, but he had a good game, 120 yards. But I am still going with Kamara just because, again, like the ceiling is so much higher, and there's Tyler Huntley even still going to run the ball. Looks like he's probably going to play. And then Gus Edwards had 13 carries last week as well. So I'm still going with Kamara in a good matchup
Oh, they do have
indoors
Atlanta.
indoors as well. No weather issues. Not that I like weather
Yeah,
should be fine for running backs, but
but looking at Kamara's last 6
I
games,
know out of a bye
7
though, out of a bye.
7.95 in this league I'm looking at, 6.0. 11.4, 4.0, and 4.45.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah,
I
like,
hear you. It's been ugly.
ah,
It's been ugly for
um,
second round pick, first round pick, maybe Alvin Kamara. I get it. I certainly get it, but I'm still I'm going with the talent. I'm going with the PPR potential. This is a spoiler game essentially for the Saints. They're going to want to get this win against a division rival. It's a good matchup. It's indoors. I'm taking Kamara.
I'm sticking to my guns and going
Okay, fair enough. We can
going
disagree.
Dobbins.
So I'm going Kamara and Kittle. You're going Dobbins and Kittle.
Yeah, correct.
There you go. And then another one out of Daniel Keenan to add from that. One more thing. I also have McKinnon play for flex. Yeah, I'm all right with
Yeah,
that. I'm all right
100%.
with that. I
Against Houston, absolutely. Like I might go put him in this lineup I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I had him in a DK lineup, and then I took him out, and
So,
I'm so
all right,
upset about that
I'll
one.
ask a question piggybacking off of Daniel's.
Yep.
Pick Foreman, ETN, or McKinnon as an RB2 or a flex. Pick two of them. Deontay against Pittsburgh,
Who
ETN
the
against
Jags play? Dallas. Ooh.
Dallas.
I mean, you got to go ETN and who's the other one? McKinnon. I think you go ETN
McKinnon.
McKinnon.
Okay.
It's a tough matchup for Deontay Foreman against
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, but actually, if we were able to get to it, I am kind of in on the Carolina running backs.
Yeah.
But with those two other options, that's what I would do.
All right. I'll do it. I like it.
What do we got here? All right, we're setting the table. We got Aiden Bailey. This is a bit of a set the table kind of comment. 12-team PPR, single QB dynasty, regular scoring, but have +4 for bonus over 100 yards. First round of the playoffs, as it typically is. Need 4 of these players. Starting. Okay. 4 of these players: Higgins, Pittman, Olave, Godwin. Wow, this is a 12 team. Yeah, good team, man.
It's dynasty, so he's obviously
good on you.
Put in some work.
And I am starting. Okay, and I am starting McCaffrey, Higgins, Pittman, Godwin, Olave. I feel like I should take Brees Hall off my IR and play him. Brees Hall off your IR and play him. I'm confused with that.
Same.
But if you need 4 of those guys to play, I'm worried about Higgins because he played 1 snap and then didn't play the rest of the game. So I don't know if I'm willing to roll the dice on Higgins like that. I love Olave this week. I love Olave. I'm probably going with him.
Godwin's got a tough matchup.
I'm still taking Godwin.
Same.
I'm taking Godwin, and
he was one of my other flexes in that league. I just asked you that question from.
Yeah, and are you sitting Nick Chubb?
No,
I don't think I can. And Pittman, so I'm going Olave, Pittman, Godwin, Chubb.
I'll go
Kenny Walker against the number 1 49ers.
Oh, yeah, no, screw that.
Can't do it.
No.
Higgins, I can't do it.
Pittman, Olave, Godwin, and Chubb. That's the right way to go.
Makes it relatively easy when you think about it that way, right?
Yeah, I forgot they were playing San Fran. Do not start Kenneth Walker this week.
Yeah, it's just a bad matchup.
Pick one.
Did
you get Jaws's question from earlier?
No, I didn't. Jeez, my bad, Jaws. Good eyes, Shane. That's why we keep you around. Jaws, the OG of our Roto Heat chat. Appreciate the question. Who to start at wide receiver 3? Elijah Moore, Hardman, Skowronek, Slayton, or Demarcus Robinson? I'm going with Elijah Moore.
Really?
There was just
Against
a question.
Detroit, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's just a question in our Discord, one of the many channels that are in there. It was saying Chris Moore or Elijah Moore rest of season. I'm taking Elijah Moore.
I'm gonna go Slayton, I think.
Who the Giants play?
Commanders.
Ooh, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Wonder what the weather will do though. Same
Yeah.
with New York, I guess. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going Elijah Moore in a great matchup.
you know, I'll go Moore too, with Slayton as a backup option.
Yeah, he could be plan B. I'm okay. That would be my number 2 actually. Would be Slayton. So we can you can go either one. We'll say
Yeah.
that. Either way, whichever guy you like more, but those are the two that we like, Elijah Moore and Darius Slayton. Johnny Camarena. Pick one, Watson, Olave, or Pacheco at flex. That's a pretty good problem, to be honest. Those are all pretty good matchups, but I'm taking Olave.
I'm assuming that's Christian Watson, right?
Yeah, yeah,
They have the Rams.
yeah. In Green Bay.
Yeah. In Green Bay. I'm going. You said Olave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking Olave.
Pacheco's got a great matchup, but
But
like I
McKinnon's
think
been getting so much work.
yeah, did we talk about that at all? That was
I think we.
wild that Andy Reid wouldn't just feed Pacheco at the end of that game. I don't understand.
Yeah, we
You're
didn't talk about it, but I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense. You're bleeding out the game. You had it in hand. You're ready to go. And then they give it to him and he hammers off a 10-yard run, a 7-yard run.
Yeah,
Like he had like only I think it was like 13 carries and he had like a 6 yards per carry or something like that. Like he was dominating. It's just they I don't know if they forgot, didn't know he was doing so well, didn't pay attention to the score. I really don't know what to say, but he should have had more points last week. So maybe he does this week when they destroy the Texans, who are horrible against the run.
yeah,
But for me, it's Olave.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Kamara going to explode. Yeah, he might. He might. Eduardo, no problem. No
Thank
problem
you,
at all.
Eduardo.
Yeah. Johnny again, pick 2, Knight, Patterson, Jones, Robinson, PPR. James Robinson,
I would
Demarcus
assume
Robinson,
James Robinson. Which Jones? Aaron
Rich
Jones?
Jones. Yeah. Um,
Johnny, get back to us on that if you can, and we'll circle back to this one.
Daniel Keenan again. If Waller played, do I play him or stick with Dulcich versus Arizona? What are your thoughts?
A, Daniel, welcome to the show. B, thank you for asking so many questions. Makes this show a lot easier. C, I'm sticking Dulcich because Arizona's horrible against the tight end,
I
and I don't trust Waller.
Yeah, motion seconded, motion passed on all 3 points.
Sweet.
Yeah, I agree. Like we've talked about Waller a fair amount of times. I know Daniel, you're new. We talked about Waller a fair amount of times on this channel, and I just I don't know if I'll ever trust him again. We'll have to see if he goes somewhere else next year, what happens with that. But he's clearly not happy, and I don't even know if he'll play this week, even if he's healthy. I think that's kind of where we're at with Darren Waller. What do we got here? William Watkins. Would you trust Taysom Hill for your fantasy playoffs? Half point PPR at tight end. I do. I do. That's a tough one. Like you might get a goose egg, but you might get 30.
I don't, but that is for a completely separate reason from the relevance of this show. I hate Taysom Hill. I want him to burn in fantasy football purgatory for a very long time. So I'm gonna defer to Cody on this one and let Cody's answer be the actual answer.
I'm going yes. Like they clearly are going to be using him. Like he's been used in throughout the season at multiple kind of positions. Right? He's thrown the ball. He's run the ball. He's even caught passes. There was even a play in a week or two ago where it was like a wheel route and he got targeted. 12.3 last week. He hasn't exactly put up a goose egg, and I don't expect him to put up 30 to 40 points, which he has done this season at the tight end spot, which is unbelievable. The reality is he's got to get in there. for some quarterback work, and then which leads to the rushing game, because anytime he's in at quarterback, yes, he might pass it, but he's probably running the ball. And if he falls into the end zone, then it's kind of worth it. He's got 5, 6, 7 7 total touchdowns. 2 are passing. There might be a receiving touchdown in there as well, so I think he might have 8 touchdowns. To me,
2 receiving touchdowns.
2 receiving. So there you go. 9 total touchdowns with 2 passing. Like, that's a ridiculous stat line.
Well,
and I'm here for it.
Looking at his year to date, he has 4 top 4 finishes according to this league, another top 10, and then 2 tight end 11 finishes. So it's surprisingly, I won't say consistent, but it's there.
For the tight end position, like, it's worth the swing for me if you're getting somewhat of a floor of, like, let's call it 4 to 6 points of a floor.
Yeah.
But the ceiling is literally through the roof. So, and in week 1 against Atlanta, he had 4 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and a target, and that's a reception. Oh, those are receiving touchdowns. Never mind. My apologies. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm playing him.
And I'm deferring to Cody,
especially in a good matchup like this. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. Another question from William: does Damien Harris get most of the work if Ramondre Stevenson is out? If Damien Harris is healthy and playing, yeah, for sure.
I don't know because of the Bill Belichick factor.
Well, Kevin Harris would be the guy getting the majority of the carries. Pierre Strong is there too, obviously, and he's going to get a lot of the passing down work, I think.
Yeah. That's my problem is, like, if Ramondre is not there, does Bill trust Damien enough to give him the lion's share, or does he do his Bill Belichickian thing and sign some dude off the street? He goes for 30 carries and 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then he's cut next week. Like,
that could always happen. That could happen every other week, with the Patriots.
Really could.
So, I mean, yeah, we could, but Kevin Harris fumbled, and then he basically didn't see the field.
Okay.
Pierre Strong could get 30 carries.
I'll stick to it and say that yes, if Stevenson is out, Harris does, because I think he's the most talented out of the 3 options.
And he's been there a long time. He's had fumble issues, and he still gets the ball. So I think yes, if he's healthy and he's playing, yeah. If not, probably Pierre Strong, just because Kevin Harris fumbled. But you never know. Kevin Harris, if Stevenson and Damien Harris aren't playing, I'm pretty much out on that backfield.
Yeah.
I'm just too concerned that, Joe Schmo, anybody could get the carries. And you're basically rolling the dice. But if Damien Harris is playing and healthy and Ramondre's out, it's Damien Harris. Yeah, that sucks, man.
Johnny answered which Robinson it was.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, the thing is, like, last week, even both those guys were playable. Both those guys were minimum flex.
They have been, I think, for a couple of weeks now too.
And against Houston, I think you're going to get that out of both McKinnon and Pacheco. I would play both of them, not in the same team, probably. At least I would hope I wouldn't have to play the 2 on the same team. But I guess I would if I really, really had to against Houston. But either way, it's Brian Robinson. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Johnny. So we got Zonovan, Bam, Knight, Cordarrelle, most return touchdowns in the NFL history. Patterson. Who's the Jones, though? And Brian Robinson.
I'm going Patterson and Robinson. Not confidently, though.
Yeah.
I still want to know who the Jones is.
Yeah, me too. I'm going Patterson and Robinson. Is that what you said too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I could certainly be talked into Zonovan Knight, though.
So I actually have a counterpoint for you.
I'm changing. I'm going Zonovan and Patterson.
Okay, great. I have a counterpoint for you. I would not start Zonovan Bam Knight this week. The Lions have actually tightened up their rush defense, and I think in the last 4 to 5 weeks have not allowed I can't remember the stat, and I was gonna try and go find it on Twitter.
Well, their
Give me a
defense as a whole has tightened up. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So I'll believe whatever you're kind of getting at. I'll agree with that and believe it because I know that their defense has tightened up. I'm still taking Zonovan Knight here. I think he's just a bit of a man on a mission, and they're giving him the ball. He's getting the volume. He's still getting passing down work too, and not all of it, but a good chunk of it. I could certainly see him falling in the end zone here against Detroit. And then Cordarrelle is, I think he's the one, right? He's the one guy, unless that's Aaron Jones. If that's Aaron Jones, then
I think it's Patterson and Jones, right?
Yeah.
Pretty comfortably.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, it is. Okay. So Aaron Jones and Patterson.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we at now? Robinson.
Next one from Johnny, I think.
So Russ, Johnny again. Pick 3: Diggs, Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, Evans, Cooper, PPR. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it. We're here every week. Tell your friends. I'm going with Diggs, of course, Hopkins, of course, and Garrett Wilson.
I second it. I don't have only other one I would consider is Cooper. And I'm not confident about that at all. So yeah, Diggs, Hopkins, and Wilson.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
I think that's relatively easy. I mean, it shouldn't be because Mike Evans is friggin' Mike Evans. And Amari Cooper's been great this year, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest Amari hater for really no good reason, but I'm the biggest Amari hater. And I'm actually a massive Mike Evans fan. Massive, biggest Mike Evans supporter you'll probably find. But in this week, in this case, I'm leaving those two guys on the bench. No problem, William. We appreciate the questions.
Yeah, thank you, William. Got some new people in the chat. If you guys have been watching and not in the chat, we greatly appreciate it.
Johnny, super chat. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys. I'm starting the playoffs. Good on you.
Cool.
I didn't make the playoffs in all my leagues. It's tough. It's tough business.
Either.
Fantasy football is hard.
I tweeted out my official stats the other day, Cody. It was yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I was in 33 leagues, managed leagues, made the playoffs in 18 of them. Missed the playoffs by one freaking spot in 7 of them.
That's a good ratio. Of my 357 best ball teams, 112 advanced.
That's solid.
That's very, very respectable. I'm very happy with that. Yeah, it's about 31% advance rate, which is
in a game about a game that has a lot of luck and avoiding injury luck. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about 18%, 14%, things like that. I'm not up there with James. I can't remember probably pronounce his last name, but as it goes by Eagles with a bunch of Z's. If you play best ball, Eagles. He's got like a 40% advance rate on like 1,000, 1,500 teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he maxes everything.
Good
but
Lord.
I might try to get him on the show, which is a good reminder for everyone in the chat. This will be a best ball show eventually in the off season. We'll be back for next season, the same sort of thing we're doing for throughout the football season. But leading up, it'll be best ball. I guess I'm the resident Roto Heat best ball. I don't want to call myself, professional or good at it, unless I get a win this year, then I can start bragging maybe. But Johnny, we appreciate the super chat, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Super appreciate it. Infinite possibilities. There certainly are. There are these are the tight ends on my roster. You have to start 2. Which 2 tight ends would you start? Fant? No Fant. I would imagine Johnson, Juwan. Okay. Grant Calcaterra. None of those guys. So it's Fant and Juwan Johnson. Unless you want to get sneaky and go with Grant Calcaterra.
have to start too.
Charlie Kohler's pretty much never going to see the field
No.
in Baltimore with obviously Andrews and likely Jordan Akins.
I don't
I
hate
get,
that one.
yeah.
I would go Jawan Johnson pretty easily. And I think I'm going to go Calcaterra.
That's not crazy.
I take
It's
that
not
back.
crazy if you want to get sneaky, but
I would go Calcaterra, but they designated Goddard to return from IR. So if he comes back, I would probably pivot to Akins.
I don't hate the Akins because they're going to have to throw.
They're
They're
gonna
they're
have
going to
to
get
throw, and
destroyed.
he randomly has these like super good games. And I don't know. There's just something in my gut saying go Jordan Akins.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think we can both agree on Juwan Johnson. And then I'm okay with Noah Fant or Jordan Akins. That's a tough spot. You're not in that's a tough one. That's for damn sure. Oh dang, Daniel Keenan, welcome to the show. Appreciate it, man. That's awesome. Thanks
Whoa.
for the help, guys. Wide receiver D Hop Waddle. Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson need two. My RVs are Swift, Pacheco, Jonathan Taylor, Bam,
So
ETN. I need two
two
RB.
running
So I need
backs,
five total out of these guys, but two
yeah,
running backs, two wide
two wide
receivers.
receivers, and a flex. All right. Wide receivers. I'm going D Hop and Wilson. Running backs.
You got to start Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, JT
Like
is easy.
that's that. You got to start him,
I
and
think
then
go Pacheco. Is that insane?
I don't know. Like that's kind of what I was just gonna go towards because I'm not gonna go with Bam Knight in this case.
No.
I'm ETN.
I love Etienne, but he's been bad the last 3 to 4 weeks.
But for me, it's JT and then Swift or Pacheco. So let's break
Yeah.
that down a little bit. Like Swift's just not quite getting the volume. It's going up, but
Yeah.
Jamal Williams and even Justin Jefferson or Justin Jackson fell into the end zone last week.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, oh God, give the ball to DeAndre Swift, please. And
Please.
I was telling people to trade him however many weeks ago. I was right, but I doesn't mean that I don't like him or don't want to see him with the ball. So do you think that Pacheco just runs the ball 25 times against the Texans and gets in the end zone once or twice? Very, very possible.
I could easily see him having 20 carries, 100 yards, and at least one touchdown against this piss poor defense.
So could I. So
like that almost feels like a floor, and that feels bold to say, but like that's how bad Houston is. And I think the counter side of that is that's how good Kansas City is. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like people are talking enough about how good Kansas City is. Like, yeah, they lost to Buffalo. They're what? Are they 9-3, 10-2?
you know who else they lost to?
The Bengals. The flipping Bengals. That
Yeah,
was one.
buddy.
And that was their third loss. So I can't
Yeah,
remember who else
buddy.
they lost to, but
Well, they're great offensively, but they do have some defensive deficiencies.
yeah,
That's for
for
sure.
sure.
But with that logic that we just talked about with Pacheco, couple that with what we're thinking or what I was just saying about DeAndre Swift, I guess you got to go JT and Pacheco, right?
Yeah. So it's D Hop and Wilson at wide receiver, Pacheco and Taylor at running back. Who are we flexing? Swift. I think it's between Swift, Waddle, and Evans.
I got to go with Waddle.
Okay.
Personally. I just for what
Against
we've seen him
Buffalo?
do. Yeah, and Buffalo's been a little bit weaker, especially lately against passing
Yeah.
the passing offense. So
Man,
and his ceiling is 40 points.
yeah.
So that's what I'm going after. That's what I'm doing. I agree with the D Hop and Garrett Wilson. I'm going with those two wide receivers. I think we agree on that. And then I
Yeah.
think we agree on Pacheco and JT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with 2 in a snowstorm. If it is a
That's what I was laughing
snowstorm,
at.
then that changes things. That changes things. If it's snowing in Buffalo, that definitely changes things. It's Wednesday today. We'll see what the weather looks like. And if that's the case, then I'm moving to Mike Evans against my Bengals.
I'm gonna go Swift. I'm gonna go Swift as my flex.
I could certainly be talked into that.
Brady and the Bucks, and specifically Mike Evans, have not looked great in
All right,
Mike Evans'
Daniel
direction.
lives in upstate New York. I'm gonna take his word for it,
Yeah.
and we'll say it's snowing in Buffalo.
Okay,
And if
so
it is, then we can take Waddle out.
yeah.
So D Hop, Wilson, Pacheco,
Taylor
Taylor,
locks.
Swift.
Swift.
Well, so Daniel in the chat there, if it's snowing in Buffalo, is it not snowing in New York? I'm an ignorant Canadian. So I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be, to be honest, but they're
Buffalo's
ways away, and it's a
yeah.
little bit different systems because they get it off the lakes, not the ocean. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going D Hop, Wilson, Swift, Pacheco, Taylor.
Yeah, I think we agree on that. It's just that one flex. It's that one flex that you could go Evans. I don't mind Mike Evans there. I really don't mind Mike Evans. It's still Mike Evans.
Daniel's angry, typing in all caps.
I know. So I'm gonna stick with Mike Evans. I'm gonna stick with Mike Evans.
Okay.
So D Hop, Garrett Wilson as your wide receivers, Pacheco, JT as your running backs, and Mike Evans as your flex. That's from me.
I'm the same, except Swifter is your flex instead of Evans. So it's whichever way you feel more strongly, that way. You're more fine, Daniel. I was giving you a hard time.
But we appreciate the super chat. Hopefully, hopefully that gets you the win in
it's
in
a
week
solid
1 here.
team, though. I like your team, Daniel. So
yeah. Aiden Bailey, another one out of Aiden, Dulcich or Cole Kmet.
I'm staying Dulcich. Dulcich, however the hell you say it.
I think it's Dulcich. Could be Dulcich.
Dulcich.
One or the other.
Dulcich.
I'm gonna
Denver tight end.
I'm gonna stick with it because of the matchup against Arizona.
Yeah, and Fields is day to day with illness.
He'll be all right.
Yeah, I think he will too. But I'm gonna use that as my explanation of going away from my love child of Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I'm a big Cole Kmet believer too, and I'm still taking Dulcich here just because he's getting the volume, and the big thing about Dulcich that not a lot of people are talking about. He's getting a crazy amount of deep balls for a tight end. It's insane. He's not getting too much on the goal line and in the red zone, but if he gets you a 40-yard touchdown, that's massive out of a tight end. So that's something worth thinking about. That's for sure. Night against Detroit. I feel like he's gonna be all right. The Bam night. William Watkins, would you play Damian Harris if he's healthy and Stevens is out, or Saquon versus Washington? I'm playing Saquon. I'm playing Saquon regardless of anything. Yep. If I have Saquon, I'm playing him.
100%.
I didn't draft him in the first round to sit him on the bench first week of the playoffs. It's kind of one of those things. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you lose, you lose. Start your studs.
William, you could be the one that, for superstition's sake, benches Saquon so the rest of us can have his success in our teams.
William Watkins had to die so Shane can
the rest
live.
of us could live. Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny, again, 2 leagues, pick one, Njoku or Freiermuth. Second league, Njoku or Kmet.
I'm going Njoku in both.
I'm going Freiermuth over Njoku.
Okay.
And then I'm going with David Njoku over Kmet.
Damn it, my phone died. What's the status of Muth's injury?
I did not know he had an injury, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, he's last I checked, he was listed as questionable on Sleeper. So, but my phone died, and I don't feel like looking it up on the internet right now.
There was an explanation about it from Mike Tomlin. Managing a foot. We'll see. Pay attention to the practice schedule this week for Pat Freiermuth. If Pat Freiermuth is playing and he's over his ankle issue or whatever it was, I think it was an ankle. Foot injury.
Who do the Steelers have?
Baltimore, isn't it? No, Carolina.
Oh. Yeah, I'm still
especially if Kenny Pickens, I don't, or Kenny Pickett, Jesus, Kenny Pickett, I do not think is playing.
Okay.
So if it's Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph, that makes me lean more towards Freiermuth.
Youth.
Yeah. And I think it will be, and it may be Mason friggin' Rudolph over Mitch Trubisky after what we saw Mitch Trubisky do last week. So I don't think that Kenny Pickett's playing. Like we've seen it time and time again. Guys are missing 2 weeks because of a concussion, right? Joe Mixon missed 2 weeks, right? And he was cleared to play and he didn't. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing it time and time again. We might see a little bit of a hiccup with that with Tyler Huntley this week. He might play practice full today, so he might play. But we've just seen it time and time again, and I just don't think Kenny Pickett's going to play. Even if he does, I still like Pat Freiermuth. So
I'm going Njoku on both.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't hate you.
I could be if Muth is playing, I could probably be talked into it just because Carolina is not a great defense. But I feel pretty confident in Njoku.
Yeah, that's fair. I like Njoku over Komet for sure. So again, pay attention to the practice schedule for Pat Freiermuth, and if there's any uncertainty there, then you could certainly go with David Njoku.
I mean, you could do worse.
Yeah, you should feel pretty comfortable. I think with David Njoku, right? Yeah. You agree with that? I think so.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jones. If T. Higgins doesn't play, do I start Chris Moore? If you have to, yeah.
If that's your only option,
yeah.
He's been okay.
Yeah, he really. I mean, he had 11 targets, 10 catches, 120 yards. I think last week against Dallas, which is not an easy matchup. So, I mean, if you have to. If there's other options you want us to go over, then put them in the chat there, and we'll go over it. But if you have to, I will flip a coin, heads or tails. There you go. That's always a good way to decide. No, thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate everything there.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Dulcich still if Wilson doesn't play. Yeah, I think Brett Rippon knows the offense. He's been with that team for a few years. He threw a touchdown pass. I mean, he didn't look good towards the end of the game there, but he wouldn't. They were selling out for the run, just straight blitzing him. It wasn't a good recipe with Chris Jones just bearing down on him. And I think he sacked him at least once. I know he sacked him at least once, but it might have been twice. But they're gonna have to be throwing the ball to stay in basically any ball game. Well, I shouldn't say have to, and it's not any ball game to be honest, because they can run the ball and stay in some games against some lesser opponents. But it's Arizona who gives up a lot of points to tight ends, and again with that downfield presence that he has. Yeah, I'm still going Dulcich, even with Brett Rippon.
Same.
He's been with this team for 3 years or something like that.
Arizona is just terrible too against the tight end. I mean,
very bad.
Hunter Henry had 70 yards, I think, on 3 catches last week.
Yep, that's exactly what he had. They're one of the worst in the league.
I've had him in Prize Picks, that's why I knew that.
And it's been habitual with the Cardinals over a few seasons. They've been bad against tight ends for a while. So I'm going to stick with it. That's for sure. Oh, man. Jonathan Jones, Alec Pierce. If you have Alec Pierce over Chris Jones, yes, 100%. Or
yeah,
Chris Moore.
Absolutely.
I go Alec Pierce over Chris Moore for sure in the matchup against Indy. That's an example. We were talking
Easily.
about him earlier, right? That's an example where I'm definitely going Alec Pierce.
Yeah,
Um,
easily. I'm scrolling Twitter because I'm trying to find somebody. I've seen multiple tweets about it, about the Lions and their improvement on their rushing defense, but I can't freaking find it anywhere.
I'll take your word for it. I know they've been better, so we'll take it. I think Knight might do better than Patterson. Yeah, I mean he might. Like any given Sunday, that's why we play the games, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
it's very possible Knight gets 2 touchdowns and Patterson, doesn't get the majority of the running work, and Tyler Algier's in there, or they got to throw the ball, right? Desmond Ritter comes into the game, which is someone we got to talk about before the end of the show. That's for sure. We're talking about
absolutely.
Desmond. You know what? We're talking about Desmond Ritter right now
Let's do it.
because this came up and it's something I wanted to touch on anyways. So Desmond Ritter gets to start. What are your thoughts, Shane? I'm a huge. He was my favorite quarterback in this draft class. I've been waiting for this day to come for him to start a football game. I'm very excited to see what he can do. So sorry, yeah, he might. We're going to talk about Desmond Ritter now. I think Patterson. I'm still going with Patterson overnight. I'm
Yeah.
still doing it. It just and I'll live by it and die by it. It is what it is. But yeah, let's get into some Desmond Ritter talk. What are your thoughts?
He's my second favorite quarterback in the class behind Sam Howell.
Ugh.
I love Desmond Ritter though. Like I'm really excited to see what he can do. Do wish he had Kyle Pitts, and um I think the Falcons have to, like, obviously Mariota got hurt and whatnot, got put on IR, but I think at some point they had to start him to see what they really had.
Oh yeah.
I thought the Falcons were going to be much worse than they are. I still think there's potential for them to fall off the wagon, but I want to see what Ritter can do in the NFL offense. He looked really good in the preseason, I thought.
Mhm.
And he's a winner. He won all the time at Cincinnati. He's got that winning mindset. Um, and I think the talent is there. So I'm really excited to see what he can do um, with, we'll say, limited weapons. And then going forward, if he's their QB of the future, just get him more weapons and a little more protection. And bam, you guys have a good starting QB for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I love Desmond Ritter as a prospect. He was my number one quarterback until the Bama game. He just missed Alec Pierce was wide open at one point, and then he missed Alec Pearson like 2 plays later on a slant to not get in the end zone, and then they just getting beat up on and whatever. He just had a bad game against Alabama, but the potential was there for him to have a decent game and for that team to be in the ball game, and he didn't do what he needed to do in a couple of those plays. So I dropped him below Kenny Pickett and had Kenny Pickett as my number one quarterback. But my favorite quarterback is Desmond Ritter. That's for sure. What I had written down is dude wins football games because he does. He was
Yep.
like what friggin' 30 something and 3 or something like that in
Yeah, that
Cincinnati.
sounds right.
Like he had a ridiculous winning record in Cincinnati against, with a a bit of a subpar team or middling team, took him to the college football playoffs, right? And a bit of it, you know, a little bit about why I like guys, not guys like this, but any quarterback that comes in and plays just randomly is that kind of Mike White effect where it's that unknown
Mhm.
factor.
Yeah.
The league isn't prepared for him. He has all the talent in the world, plus he has the rushing upside. So, and this is not especially if Marcus Lattimore doesn't play again for the Saints, that's a good matchup.
Yeah.
He's got Drake London and then a bunch of other guys that can do some stuff like some jitterbugs like Zacchaeus and Demir Bird. And
And
then,
both of those guys are good for deep shots too.
yeah, and Patterson, and screens and stuff like that, right? And then the
Okay,
tight ends have done some good stuff, even though Pitts isn't there. But
I need to distract from the Desmond Ritter love for 2 seconds because I found a Lions tweet. Sal Vitri at Sal Vitri DFS. Lions rush defense. It says past 4 weeks, but he can't math apparently. Saquon Barkley, 22 yards on 15 carries. Travis Etienne, 54 yards on 13 carries. And Dalvin Cook, 23 yards on 15 carries.
Yeah. I still
would not
don't mind
start.
Bam Knight.
I would not start Zonovan Knight.
I still don't mind him. I still don't mind him. I knew that the stats were there, but I still don't mind him.
I wouldn't, but
either way, Desmond Ritter, I'm excited to see what he can
yes.
do. And back to that, to finish that, put a bow on it. The Falcons are still in the race.
Yeah.
They're still in the race, and they have to win this game. If they lose this game, they're dead. So if they win this game, they're right in the thick of the NFC South.
Go to Johnny. I think it's his next question. Right after he says, "I hate Atlanta backfield." Would you stash Ritter and then drop Tony Jones for him? I would drop Tony Jones to stash Ritter.
Oh, heck yes.
Ken Walker is coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Homer's even there. DJ Dallas is there. Absolutely. I'm dropping Tony Jones for Desmond Ritter. No question. Yeah, even if you don't end up starting Ritter, like you're never going to play Tony Jones. Never. Yeah. It's possible. Hopefully you don't have to start Desmond Ritter. Don't get me wrong. As much as I like him, like hopefully you don't have to start him. But I just wanted to chat about Desmond Ritter because he's finally getting a shot, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
Same.
Back to the questions. Shades 721, need 3, standard, Pollard, JT, Kamara, Barkley, ETN. Pollard, JT, Kamara.
Ooh.
For me.
Yeah. Because Kamara's got Atlanta. I agree with that.
Like this is one situation where you can sit Barkley, right?
Yeah, I would consider Barkley would be my other option.
Yeah.
Who Dallas says Jacksonville, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easily those three. They've all got really good matchups and they've all been hot. Well,
Barkley's been not hot and he's got a
Kamara's not
matchup.
Been hot, but he's got a get right game, I think.
Yeah. And it's a good matchup too at home. You know, Barkley's on the road against Washington. That front four is scary.
And might have Chase Young back.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those rare occasions you can probably sit Barkley. Daniel, again, I have San Francisco defense. Should I still play them or stream QB? No, Denver. I'd play. I'd still be playing the Niners.
Yeah, number one defense in the league, even against the Seahawks. I feel like you got to start them.
Yeah, and on the road, they're going to want to set the tone defensively. And when they're, when it's a defense like the 49ers, Eagles, potentially even the Cowboys, you can't really just don't try to galaxy brain it, just kind of set it and forget it. And don't, you're going to second guess yourself into oblivion with stuff like that, especially on defense, special team stuff. Marco from the future, what's it like? Jameson Williams.
Do I ever lose weight, Marco?
What's that?
I said, do I ever lose weight, Marco?
It's a mindset. You're all right. Jameson Williams, Palmer, Chris Moore, Sky Moore, John Dotson, Thielen, Cooks, D-Rob. Start 3, half PPR. Start 3. Ouch.
I'm going Thielen, Palmer. I'm going. I
mean, I don't know about Palmer.
I would go. You don't know about Palmer?
Well, he fell off. That's for sure. I mean, it is Tennessee, and they're god awful against wide receivers.
I have some thoughts about Brandon Staley. I don't know if you want me to share them now.
Sure.
But you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler. Last week, you had a healthy Keenan Allen and a healthy Mike Williams. You've got Josh Palmer and you got Gerald Everett. How the do you only score 23 points against Miami? Miami's defense is not that good.
Well, they're figuring it out a little bit. Offensive line is not great. Jalen Phillips. Sorry, Jalen Phillips has been looking pretty good lately as a defensive end. Like he had 2 sacks in that game, I think. And he got called for that god awful, ridiculous roughing the passer, which was
Yeah.
so ridiculous. Soft, man. Soft refs.
So bad. But still, beside the point, like from a fantasy perspective, their defense is not ranked well. And with the talent that you have on offense, I don't like unless you were playing the Monstars, like you should be able to score more than 23 points in a game, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think yeah, I don't disagree. I think they were figuring it out a little bit. You know, Mike Williams was just coming back. Keenan Allen just came back.
Allen's been back for a few weeks.
Yeah, he has. Now, I mean, it was
Yeah.
1 week or something before that game. So I think we'll see them absolutely poo-poo all over the Tennessee Titans this week at home against their pass D. I mean, we talked about a couple weeks back that Justin Herbert's definitely going to get right in the next few weeks, and we're still in it. And I think that this game is going to be, I think he could have 4 touchdown passes, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns.
I need him to save it for 1 week.
This matchup is just,
I know,
there. But anyways, let's answer this question quick. I guess you can go Palmer then. I can, with these options, I can certainly be talked into Palmer with that matchup. So we'll go Thielen. Thielen, I think, is for sure. He's the most, he's going to get the most run for these guys. You got to go Cooks if he's playing against the Chiefs. You got to go with Cooks.
Yeah.
If Cooks is playing, I'm putting him in. Thielen and Palmer. I'm not ready to trust Jameson Williams yet.
I'm not either. If Cooks is not playing, for me, it's between Dotson and Chris Moore. And I think I go Chris Moore. And
you're not crazy, yeah.
It hurts me because I love Dotson, but
11 targets, man. 10 catches, 11 targets last week for Chris Moore.
So if Cooks is out, I think you go Thielen, Palmer, Chris Moore pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Thielen, Cooks, Palmer, Thielen, Cooks, Moore. Or sorry, Thielen, Palmer,
Moore.
Yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with that. I don't love the Atlanta backfield either, but you got to play.
Another one that like draft a running back round 2 or 3. Please and thank you. Sign fantasy football players everywhere.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Marco from the future, it's JT and Pacheco. That's easily. Not close.
Not at all.
That one's easy. I think if I'm being honest, I think the playbook expands with Ritter.
Yeah.
He's got a much stronger arm than Mariota, and I think he's able to hang in the pocket a little longer. Mariota tucks and runs a little too quick, a little too early, or boots out and runs off and then throws it away because he's running into nowhere land. I think Desmond Ritter's more capable of standing in the pocket, and he's like 3 inches taller than Mariota. So standing in the pocket and stronger arm, going downfield a little more. I think the playbook actually expands with Desmond Ridder, to be honest. And I know that Arthur Smith loves Desmond Ridder. So there you go.
I was laughing at Marco from the future's next comment.
I'm from an alternative future where Ryan Leaf is the GOAT and no one ever heard of Tom Brady. That would be an amazing place to be.
Agreed.
Ryan Leaf,
Daniel Keenan said it. Daniel Keenan, you and I are best friends now.
Is that what you said too?
I said that a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Sean Payton. I said I think he could easily go into the Chargers.
I didn't disagree with you. I just think that they like Brandon Staley too much. Yeah. I just think they like Brandon Staley too much.
So they went for it on 4th down, I think in the first quarter.
They go on 4th down way too much.
Yeah, and I said these are the decisions. Like it didn't age well because they won the game, but I said these are the decisions that are going to get Brandon Staley fired.
But in defense, a little bit of Brandon Staley, there's another team that goes for it way too much on 4th down. It potentially could have cost them against the team they played last week. And they have the best kicker in the history of the NFL. And that's the Baltimore Ravens. They went for it on 4th and whatever on like the 34-yard line last week against the Steelers. You're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Take every point you can get when you can get them, especially if you have the best kicker in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
A 34 from 34, what did it become? It's like a high 40s, low 50, 51 yard or something like that. For
51.
Justin Tucker, I'm taking that every single day of the week and twice on Sundays. You better believe it. If I have an opportunity for Justin Tucker to go get me points, I take it every single time without thinking twice.
Yeah.
But they don't. So, you know, that's I don't know if that's defense of Brandon Staley. It's just a narrative that we're seeing a little too often in the NFL where you got to take your points, man. You got to take your points. But either way, I still think they just like Brandon Staley too much. It'll be interesting to see where Peyton goes because as long as a team has to trade for him, is anyone going to really want to trade like a first-round pick?
Yeah.
Are you? Would you?
If I'm think I'm a head coach away.
But if you're a head coach away, you're a winning team right now. You know, are we going to see
so then your first
the Caldwell situation where he gets fired off of 10 wins?
What's their record now? Is it 7-5?
They're not in the playoffs anymore because the Patriots got in, I think. They're right there, though. They're 7-6, aren't they? Yeah, 7-6.
Right. Dude, I'm telling you, we talked about it. If they don't make the playoffs, I think Staley is fired.
But you got to trade for Sean Payton. You got to trade for him. You can't just go and pay him whatever he wants. That's easy. Yeah. That's easy. You got to trade a first-round pick for Sean Payton? I'm not doing it. If I'm pretty much anyone, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. And maybe if I dig into it a little more, but I'm not trading a first friggin' round pick for Sean Payton. I'll tell you that much. And I don't know how long they have his rights for where you have to trade for him. But anyways, let's move on. Johnny again, would you drop Sutton to pick up Slayton, DPJ Jefferson, or Samuel? PPR Sutton is just trash.
I do it for DPJ.
I do it for DPJ too. That was one of my guys a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
not to bring up the forbidden name of Gabe Davis, but I saw a tweet today where it was comparing DPJ and Gabe Davis, and basically it's like if you want floor and consistency, you go DPJ. If you want ceiling, you go Gabe Davis, because otherwise they're like 4 points apart in fantasy points for the year.
Yeah.
But Davis had more stinker games.
Oh yeah.
A couple fewer, or like 4 fewer like okay games, like startable games, but then like 2 or 3 like to the moon games. Whereas DPJ, I remember his specifically had 3 stinker games, but then 9 startable games.
That was part of the reason why I was yelling at everyone to go pick him up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or trade for him or anything. Get DPJ. That was about 5 weeks ago. And here we are. So pat myself back on that one. But also mentioned Isaiah Hodgins like 3 weeks ago when no one was talking about him.
Proud of you. I went and picked him up in a league because of you.
Nice. Me too. So, yeah. But anyways, with these guys, DPJ, but that's probably it. Maybe Curtis Samuel, but probably not anymore.
I was thinking maybe Van Jefferson.
No, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. The Atlanta playbook adds the most famous play of them all: fake interception, fumble recovery. Yeah, no doubt. I like this. Marco from the future, are you new to the channel? Thanks for coming out, man. I love
thanks, Marco.
I love it. Saints do need picks. Eagles have their first rounder this year. They're not trade. It was Sirianni's coach of the year.
Yeah.
Sirianni's coach of the year for sure. You're not firing him and trading for Sean Payton.
No, absolutely not. Daniel Keenan wrapping us up potentially.
Do I drop Sutton?
I would drop him for Gallup easily.
Yeah. I think that's kind of sideways. T.Y. Hilton back with the
Yeah.
Cowboys.
I think
So
Sutton also. God, I keep picking up my damn phone, but it's dead.
he's got good
Um,
matchups. He's got good
who
matchups.
Sutton does?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's hurt this week.
Well, he's
Who was
kind
it
of
last
hurt.
week?
Plus, Russ is out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you could certainly drop Sutton, and you could pick up Gallup. I'm all right with any of this.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll wrap it up pretty much there. If any questions trickle in, get them in right away. We're gonna wrap this sucker up. But good episode. That was a fun episode, Shane.
That was fun. Same thing next week, right?
Yeah, we'll do the same thing next week. Then we're gonna start. I'm gonna mix in some. Hopefully, we can do some best ball playoff drafts. Is what I'll probably get into in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and
In
then
week
we'll start.
17, right? Because next week will be week 16. Week 17, we've got a fun show planned, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, stay tuned for all the shows. Come check out all the shows. Speaking of which, yeah, we got rookie stuff coming out. We just did a super flex mock draft for rookie content. We have a 1 QB mock draft as well, where
Marco
yours
really is
truly.
from the future.
What's that?
Marco really is from the future.
I hope so.
It's 4:15 in the morning for him right now.
Oh,
So he's
nice.
got to be
Um,
like Eastern European, roughly.
no, maybe. I think he's maybe Japan
No, it wouldn't be that far.
Australia or New Zealand, maybe.
No, because it's like 9 in the morning for them.
Germany.
Aha!
Nailed it. Nicely done. What were we babbling about? Yeah, so some best ball stuff.
That's a super sticker. We got a super sticker, whatever that is.
Ooh, Johnny, we appreciate it. Super
Thank you,
sticker.
Johnny.
Not entirely sure what that means, but yeah, we'll take it. Appreciate it.
And then Tiki Swan threw a question, and we were wrapping up, and we got distracted.
Here we
I'm
go.
sorry.
Tiki Swan, Chager and Joku rest of season of playoffs and Joku.
Yeah.
Yeah, David and Joku, no question. Chig might pop off here and there, sort of a thing, but it's certainly not something you can rely on. And you can rely on David and Joku.
Yeah, pretty
That's for
comfortably.
sure. Yeah. No worries. We certainly appreciate it. Of course, Marco, come back and drop some funny stuff. Daniel, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming and stopping in with us.
Welcome to the show, too. First timer.
Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. That's it. We'll wrap it up there. Check out the Discord above Shane's head there. You can catch us in there, add us if you guys have any questions or anything like that. You can DM us. We got Hawaii. That's awesome. Hawaii, Germany, California. I'm in Canada. Good time.
I'm in South Carolina. We're all over the globe today.
Yeah, follow Shane and I on Twitter. There's our Twitter handles there. Hit that like and subscribe button for us, guys. It's free for you. Helps us out a ton. We've been working really hard all season on this show, and every little bit helps. So we appreciate that. Thanks for the super chats tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be back next week doing the same thing. I think we'll have the same sort of concept, just answering questions. It actually went long. I'm happy with the time we had here. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thank you, chat. That was awesome for you guys. A lot of questions. We really appreciate it. Come back next week. The Dynasty Show. Just keep an eye on the channel. There's lots of stuff coming out. Like I said, rookie content is going to be a big focus in the next little bit. And then
follow us on Twitter too.
Follow us on Twitter, the Roto Heat channel on Twitter.
Yeah, Roto Heat Fantasy. Sorry, that's what I meant. Not me personally.
And stick around on Wednesdays on this show. This show will stay on Wednesdays with myself. I'll have some guests. Maybe Shane will join me. Whoever will be doing best ball stuff and talking about whatever other mess we want to talk about. And what else you got for the peeps, Shane?
Daniel, we will be on at 9 p.m. Eastern time a week from today. So next Wednesday. And then the following week, and then I'll probably be taking a little break because I got baby number 3 coming.
Oh, dang.
Follow us.
I won't be. so
follow us on Twitter at Roto Heat Fantasy. me and a couple other guys run the account, and so we're trying to grow that and make sure that we're getting content like this tweeted out so you guys know where to find it there as well. So that's all I got.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next week. Stick around, hit that like button on your way out, and we'll see you next